Hello everybody, it's Jenn, Scrapbena Creations. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be using a Christmas stamp for an Easter card. So for the eggs, I'm using Tailored Expressions Peekaboo Easter. And then the star of the show is the Truck Tidings by Stampendous. So I'm going to be using the truck and putting the eggs into the truck bed. I'm also going to be using the wonky stitched dies to cut out my panel on watercolor paper. This die set is from My Favorite Things. And then I'm also going to be using Lawn Fawn Riley's ABCs for the sentiment because I don't have a stamp that says Easter on it, so I am going to create my own word using the Riley ABC letters. So I'm just using my stamping tool here. Because I'm using watercolor paper, I want to make sure that I'm going to get a crisp image, and I know I'm going to have to stamp it at least twice, but I actually end up stamping it 3 times just to get some dark, crisp lines throughout the entire image on the watercolor paper. And I'm using VersaFine Black Onyx ink here because it is a waterproof ink, and I'm going to be using my distress markers to color the image. So I've just done some stamping on some post-it paper off screen, and I'm just going to stamp the eggs into the truck bed, just making sure to mask off those eggs as I go and try to create the little scene of the eggs in the truck bed. So I'm doing 2 layers, and I just have to move some of the masks around here just so that I can make sure I'm not overstamping on the stamped images. And this is the last egg that I'm going to stamp. I'm going to remove all of the masks, and here's Lila, who was checking out my project. And so I'm just using my tweezers here as it helps make sure that the ink doesn't smear. I do find the VersaFine does not dry very well on the post-it paper, so you see me, I'm just using my Tombow sandpaper eraser there. So now I'm going to start the coloring. I've sped this up quite a bit just to keep this video at a decent length for you to watch. So the first color that I'm using is Abandoned Coral. I decided to use the coral kind of orangey color for the truck. I did use this truck for a Christmas card as well as a Valentine's card, so I wanted to do a different color for the truck than I had in the past. So for the blue, I'm using peacock feathers. The yellow is squeezed lemonade. And I'm just using my water brush here to move these colors along. And the pink that I'm using is Picked Raspberry. It's a nice, bright, happy spring pink color. And then I'm going to use the Twisted Citron for my green. And just making sure I get all those little pieces. Now for the orange on the eggs, I'm using dried marigold. And now I have those all colored up, I'm going to work on the wheels, which is just black soot distress ink. Just making sure to get lots of water on there so that they have lots of variation in color. I thought that I was going to color these other pieces of the truck in a different color, but I couldn't decide on one, so I went back in with the Abandoned Coral. I'm using tumbled glass for the truck windows, and then I'm just adding in a little bit of pumice stone here to do some shading on the truck, and I use squeezed lemonade for the headlight. So now I'm going to work on the sentiment, and I'm using the sentiment that came in the Truck Tidings stamp set, but I'm going to mask it off because it says sending loads of Christmas wishes. So I've just used some washi tape to mask off the Christmas wishes for now, and I'm going to peel that up and then stamp it down. And I pushed really hard here because I didn't want to have to do it again, and I got a crisp image on the first stamp. So that was great. I'm using my Lawn Fawn stamp chamois to clean off my stamp. And now I'm going to use the Riley ABCs, and I just had to cut my head out there because I had to see where I was stamping. So now I'm going to mask off that first sentiment again, and all I want is the wishes. And so there is the entire sentiment, which says, sending loads of Easter wishes. Now I'm using the twisted citron here to do some grass because it's Easter and spring. I thought I would have the truck on some grass. And then I'm just using the tumbled glass again to have a little bit of blue in the background for the sky and just to kind of frame the image and the sentiment. So now I'm going to pop that up on some fun foam. This is just cheap fun foam from the dollar store. Using my ATG gun here to make sure there's lots of adhesive to help make sure that that card doesn't warp. And then I'm just using some Michael's cardstock for the background of my image here, or to frame the panel. And then I'm going to use my Wink of Stella glitter, not Wink of Stella, I'm using my Spectrum Noir today, just to give those eggs a little bit of glitter. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed seeing how you can stretch your stamps. This was actually an idea from a viewer from my Valentine card when I used this stamp set, and I thought it was a great idea. So here's some up close shots. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.